everybody. You're listening to the Big Chill Podcast. This is episode 628, Holiday Reactions. Hello, Big Chillians, and welcome back to the now 2024 edition of the Big Chill Podcast. I'm Frank, joined as always with Eddie. Eddie, I know we took a little break, because of the holidays, but I don't want you to think for a second that we skipped the Niners getting massacred on Christmas Day by the Baltimore Ravens. Don't think for a second, because we missed that week that we were just going to skip over. What's their QB's name? I forget his name. He's so irrelevant now. I can't remember.
Yeah, so statistically so irrelevant. The guy who's going to play home game through the Super Bowl if they make it. We can discuss that. That's fine.
I guess first, fine. How was your holidays?
It was good. Happy New Year. Happy New Year to all the listeners. But yeah, it was enjoyable. I mean, I guess from a sporting perspective, it wasn't a great festive period for me. Blackburn didn't do particularly well. 49ers, didn't do badly, but obviously lost the game that felt like it mattered the most. Things have gone overall pretty well for them, having already locked up the number 1 seed now, but still, that was a bit of a downer. But aside from that, things were good.
So I guess all our longtime listeners want to know, was there throat singing this year?
There was, yeah. Not as much, because family representation was just me and my parents at the Christmas dinner.
Okay.
And then 3 friends of my parents.
You couldn't get the full surround sound throat singing experience.
So the other people did participate. However, I think it's more, they enjoy it. They think it's amusing, but there's more confusion than there is enthusiasm. So again, there will be some listeners who have no idea what we're talking about, and we cannot on an annual basis explain it.
And there'll be listeners who still have no idea, even though they've heard it every year. It would be interesting to put the Christmas dinner throat singing up against our tradition of singing the 12 days of Christmas. And we all have bells, and each person has a specific day they have to sing. And you go from 1 to 12. It's quite different.
Yours is more psychotic, I'm just going to say. Like yours is straight out of a Christmas movie.
Yours is straight out of a horror movie.
A little bit, yeah. Ours is more, it's weird, but it's like entertaining, and it's quick. We're only talking about 20, 30 seconds. It's over in a flash.
This is like 5 minutes.
Yeah, that's a much bigger commitment, in multiple ways.
I mean, the only good part of it is it's later in the night, so it takes about till around 6 or 7 before people start understanding what they're actually supposed to be saying. People forget what their number is all the time. So,
and does the number stay the same each year
for each person? No, yeah. It's a random draw. So it used to be like, it was like a fun tradition when the younger kids, as soon as they would get to the grandparents' house for Christmas, would like run downstairs and grab the highest number bell. So they only had to sing like once or twice. But it's since kind of changed now, where the bells are kind of just handed out and people are stuck with what they're given.
And no one sort of is so enthusiastic that they want to be a like low number every year. Yeah.
No.
Okay.
There is nothing enthusiastic about this. Except my grandfather has had 5 golden rings, at least since I was born. So
okay,
you're looking at close to 40 years. He's locked into 5.
Okay. Interesting positioning.
Yeah.
Low enough to be quite annoying, but yeah.
And it's also a different kind of tone. Because it's like the slower. It's like the 5 golden rings. And then everyone's like, 4 calling birds, 3 French hens, 2 turtle doves. Yeah, like everyone goes really fast.
Well, yeah. I mean, I'd like to see it one day,
Oh,
but
we film it every year. I can
okay, well,
send you the video.
you can send me the video. I want to be able to witness just exactly how insane this is.
I don't know if you can actually go and participate because you're so anti-American.
It's true.
The
It's
12
true.
Days of Christmas, as everyone well knows, is an American classic.
Christmas, an exclusively American holiday. But how was your New Year's Eve then? Did you do anything for that?
Um, yeah, I had Outback Steakhouse in my hotel room, and then stayed awake to see the East Coast. No, stayed awake to see the Puerto Rico star rise. Because in Puerto Rico, they don't drop a ball; they rise a star.
Okay.
So I saw that. I don't think I made the East Coast because we were already asleep to get on to our last day of driving.
Sounds fun.
Yes, the cross country driving. What an experience! You
What were
really
the
see America.
what were the highlights? What were the lowlights from the cross country
The
drives?
highlights were 2 full seasons of Friday Night Lights were consumed. I can tell you right now, just listening to Friday Night Lights is equally as amazing to also watching and listening.
The football scenes must really be enjoyable from a purely audio perspective.
Yeah, great. No, that was fun. Like it's just tiring. It's just a demoralizing thing to have to drive for 14 hours because you would kind of put in like, okay, like the one day we're like, okay, Columbus is 3 hours away from Indianapolis. So let's wake up early. We'll just like gas up the car, grab a coffee, and then we'll drive to Columbus and have breakfast there. Like that'll be like 9 o'clock. And then there's this town in Pennsylvania right off the highway that looks really cool. Let's stop there for lunch. And then we'll just continue home, like continue all the way to our destination from there. So like you break it up and then you get breakfast and you get lunch. And you're like, oh man, we've been driving for like 6-7 hours. Nice. Like we gotta be close to being done. And then you put in the destination. It's like 7 hours and 45 minutes remaining. And it's like, oh my fucking kidding me. Like we didn't even make a dent in today so far. Like it's just so demoralizing. It's like you can never, like even when there's 3 hours left, you're just like, there's still 3 hours. And then you start comparing time in the most obscene ways where it's like 3 hours. So that's like if one song on the radio is like 3 minutes, then that's about this exact many songs. So then every song you hear, you're like, all right, 44 more songs left and then we're there. It's like just like ridiculous things you start comparing time to. That was the shitty part. There, like, it was kind of cool to see some states that I've never seen. Like driving through parts of New Mexico were really, really cool. And then other parts of New Mexico was just pure nothingness. Like we didn't even see many cars on the road. It was crazy. Texas part that we drove through was just flat nothingness. But like you drove through like Missouri, and parts of Missouri were really, really nice, like really cool to see. And then when you get up to like Ohio and Pennsylvania, like that can be some like really pretty like farmlands and stuff. So we did a day in Nashville. That was pretty cool. But Nashville was insane because it was like New Year's Eve. It was just pure chaos. But yeah, I don't suggest it. If like people are like, oh, the American road trip. I don't know. Unless you've got 3 weeks to stop and enjoy yourself and break it up. It's like, no, don't do it.
No, yeah, I think any trip that involves long travel, where the point of the travel is just to get to a different destination, is rarely enjoyable. Whereas, yeah, if you had, let's say, even a week to do the driving that you did, you could have at least had 3 like good destinations that you stopped in, took a break, explored things.
Yeah.
Sort of really broken the driving up. But the idea of just 3 sort of back-to-back days of nonstop driving, but you maybe get to see some things, that's never going to be super enjoyable.
Because it sucks. Even when we went to Columbus, we did like Columbus, Ohio for breakfast, and we pulled into like a cool neighborhood and we kind of parked, went right to where we wanted to get breakfast, ate breakfast, walked the dog for 10 minutes, and then like we're back in the road. And you're driving and you're like, oh, that looks cool. That looks cool. But it's like, no, we can't afford to stop. Like if we stop, we're never going to get to our place that we have to get to. So that's the part that kind of sucks. It's like even when you make the stops, they have to be so short that you can't really even do much exploring. So maybe if you could do like half a day of exploring, and get like maybe a lunch, walk around, get dinner as well. Maybe that'd be worth it.
Yeah.
Did get to go to an Arkansas Walmart.
Okay.
Oof. I'll leave it at that.
Right. It's a weird review to add in from the trip, but okay. Listeners out there,
that was an eye opener.
If you have also experienced an Arkansas Walmart, follow the Big Chill Podcast on Instagram or X, formerly Twitter, and let us know if you also found it to be as noteworthy of an experience as Frank seemingly did. All right. We've obviously got quite a bit of sports to catch up on.
Yeah.
Some NFL, Premier League, a handful of other sporting events. Where would you like to start?
Well, I think we should definitely start with the Niners Ravens, with your extremely bullish predictions you had made about how you saw no way the Ravens could beat the Niners. And in fact, you said you could foresee the Giants beating the Eagles both games before you could see the Ravens beating the Niners.
Might stick to that.
In fairness, the Eagles look absolutely terrible. Yeah. They still beat the Giants.
I still feel like I wasn't as far off on that prediction, even though it was going to be 100% wrong. It doesn't feel like I was as far off as it's going to look on paper. I know you love it when I say I would do it again, even though I was wrong. I'd probably do that one again.
I could predict you would have said that, and I also can predict that you're going to say, I'm not worried at all.
No, I'm not worried at all.
It's unbelievable.
I mean,
it is so amazing.
I think I feel almost more confident now than I did.
I knew it. I wish I wrote it down. I fucking wish I wrote it down. I could have held it up. Oh, man.
Here's what I'll say. I feel less confident about the Niners playing the Ravens in the Super Bowl, which at this point I feel like is very difficult to imagine any other outcome. Like they just look a class above in both the AFC and the NFC. And yes, I feel less confident just because the Ravens, not only in terms of how they played against the 49ers, which I don't think the 49ers will play that badly again, but it's more that the Ravens are really hitting their stride, and that is concerning. But I feel more confident in that I don't see how the 49ers don't make it to the Super Bowl. Like I can't see who's beating them in the playoffs because every other team in the NFC seems to be getting weaker by the week.
Yeah.
And it's falling into place, but for both the Ravens and the 49ers. Now you still have to play the games. Injuries could happen. Weird playoff upsets can happen. But it feels like it's one of those years where they're the two standout teams, and it's difficult to imagine the scenario where either one of them doesn't make the Super Bowl.
Yeah, and I have to say, I will be slightly disappointed if that's not the Super Bowl. And again, yes, I mean, any Super Bowl is going to be a good Super Bowl. But I think that game and that thromping set up a great scenario where you get them just dominating through the playoffs and get back and see, how the Niners, and especially Shanahan, I think, can respond to what happened and see if they can like counterattack it. And I think that will be a great matchup in this. I think it's now set. That would make a great Super Bowl. And what I don't agree with is the people who will be like, we already saw this game. The Ravens demolished them. Like, who needs to see it again? They're clearly the better team because, again, that was one game. And yes, I mean, I think they outplayed them in every facet of the game. And I don't think it was a fluke. Like, it can't be like, well, the Niners, like they had this and they had this happened, that happened. Like, no, they were beat fair and square. Like that was a thromping. But I don't think that would happen again if they played again.
Yeah, I mean, so to take away from the Ravens' two impressive performances over the last couple of weeks, my takeaway from their performance against the Dolphins was like, whoa, they're just way better. Like, I can't, if they happen to play each other in the playoffs, I give the Dolphins zero chance. Like, I don't see how they could reverse the outcome. The 49ers, I agree with you. Like, I definitely give the Ravens the edge right now, but I'm not going to write them off in terms of thinking that that's the outcome we would see every time they play each other. I think you had Brock Purdy's worst performance as a starter. You've just had a few things kind of just go against them at critical moments in the game, which was both through their own poor play and the Ravens' good play. And on another day, a couple of those things go differently, and the game changes pretty radically.
Now, do you
Whereas,
think? Let me ask you, get to the Brock Purdy part. Are you so one? I guess to start, do you think he started to let it get to him because he looked like he was getting worse as the game went on? I mean, the passes were progressively getting worse. And do you agree with that? And two, are you okay with that because he'll learn and he'll not do it again? Or are you slightly concerned that maybe when things don't go his way, it could be an uh-oh moment?
no, and I know you're going to say you knew I was going to say this, but you got to lose games to develop and to learn, and you want to then lose regular season games. Like, I think that helps him. Ultimately, that helps him. The idea that you can just kind of go undefeated, but you do learn more from a defeat a lot of times than you will from winning a game. And so, I'm not happy that they lost, but if they were going to lose a game between now and the end of the season meaning Super Bowl, not regular season, then that was the game to lose. So I'm not concerned. Everything about him has shown that he bounces back pretty well. Like, he does seem to have that, short-term memory that quarterbacks need. I think we even saw that in the game on Sunday, that he was sort of back to his best, albeit against far inferior defense. Like, the challenge wasn't as big, but he, kind of got right back into his rhythm. It would be the criticism of him. We haven't seen him sort of mount, big comebacks. So do I want to be in a situation in the Super Bowl where the Niners are down 13 points to the Ravens at halftime? No, I don't think I'd be super confident in them. But, you know, I think they can prepare better now for the Ravens than they did this time around, probably. And, he can learn from the experience. I think people are way too quick to write him off. I think they were way too quick to write him off out of the MVP debate. I mean, Lamar Jackson settled that in terms of then the performance against the Dolphins a week later. But like, the takeaway from that Ravens game of, well, Brock Purdy is no longer an MVP candidate was too extreme to me. And then equally just, there's just a lot of people just waiting for him to slip up so that they can be right about him. I don't know how long that can go for. Like, I don't know, 7 seasons from now, can you be like, well, I knew it. I told you he wasn't great. Like, there's a moment in time where you have to take the loss on the assessment of a player. But yeah, no, I don't. I have the same level of confidence in this team that I had 2 weeks ago.
Oof. Don't know if I have the same level, but so if we'll get into the game, because then we obviously have to get into this week's games, which were a little hit or miss. But you said you don't foresee anyone else besides Ravens, Niners. If you had to have another team that would make it let's just say like enjoyable, you'd like to see, not that you think is deserving or this and that will make a good Super Bowl, or like you're going to tune in and not be like, why am I watching this crap? What are the teams in the AFC? What is the one team in the AFC and one team in the NFC to replace those?
Okay, in
I
the
think
AFC,
we're going to agree on the AFC team. I think we're going to agree.
you think so?
Yeah.
I'm going to say the Cleveland Browns.
I'm going to say the Cleveland Browns too. I think,
Because
obviously like the defense aspect is always fun to see in a Super Bowl, like a really good defense, but I also just love the Joe Flacco story. The
Yeah,
guy's fucking falling asleep on the sidelines on Sunday night games, just dropping dimes to receivers 60 yards downfield. I love it.
yeah, I think it's a cool story. I think obviously too, it's a team that it mixes things up. It's a new team to make it there in terms of from a modern perspective. So it would be a cool story for a number of different reasons. So yeah, I think they're the standout. I also think if they were to go on a playoff run, you could just tell me that this version of the Browns with Flacco could be the best team in the NFL. Whereas every other, like, you cannot convince me that the Chiefs are the best team in the NFL, even if they win the Super Bowl. Like, I know that sounds stupid, but you know what I mean. Like, it will add to the Mahomes folklore, and they'll deserve it, and Kelsey and whatever. But still, ultimately, you'd be like, well, if we replay those playoffs 10 times, that's the only time they're winning it.
Yeah.
And whereas the Browns, you could at least, if they were to pull it off, and if that pulling it off included beating the Ravens and the Niners, then you'd have to say they'd really proven themselves over the sort of final 3 months of the season.
Yeah. And it's just, to me, it's just a really cool story because the Browns have been traditionally bad, but then let's say the past, I don't know, 5 or 7 years, there's been a lot of optimism in the team. And it's gone through, like, oh, Baker Mayfield, he's going to save the franchise. Oh, Deshaun Watson, he's going to save the franchise. And it's like, no, actually, all along, it was just Joe fucking Flacco. That's all we needed.
Yeah, and I mean, interesting too, right? If it's Joe Flacco playing the Ravens,
Yeah, classic.
Then you add that storyline in as well. Yeah, I think they're the one. I'll say I could tolerate the Bills. I don't think they're that good.
The Bills are kind of annoying to watch. The more I watch the Bills, the more I just gotta get annoyed and frustrated in watching them because they're just so hit or miss. And then, I mean, you can get talked into thinking they're good and thinking they're bad within 3 drives of each other. It's like it's such a roller coaster. But I agree. I think the Browns would be the best alternative. What about the NFC?
I think you've got to say the Cowboys.
Yeah, I think so too.
I mean,
I don't want to see the Lions. I'm done with the Lions story, and I like the Lions, but I'm done with the story. I'm this week with the whole ref controversy thing. It kind of I went the other way with it, and it kind of made me hate the Lions a little more. And we can get into that later. But yeah, I think the Cowboys, just because they're the Cowboys, and you're going to get such crazy opinions on it, and also I still don't know if anyone in the world knows if Dak Prescott is good or not. And I think just seeing him in a Super Bowl would be fun.
Yeah, and if I have to pick a third team in the NFC who I could kind of tolerate, I'll say the Rams, who Ooh. I think, again, in the second half of the season have done enough to convince me that they're at least legitimately quite good.
But do you want to hear the whole McVay genius storylines leading up to the Super Bowl?
No, there's a lot that would annoy me. Also, right, we're talking about a recent winner. Like, it doesn't have the compelling element that, say, the Browns have, or even that the Cowboys have. But I could at least, again, you could convince me if they've then strung together a playoff run on top of what they've done in the second half of the season, I could accept them as being like, not that me accepting them means anything, but you know what I mean? Like, I could say, okay, they've quote unquote deserve this. Whereas the Eagles, who are just in a tailspin at this point.
Anyone wants to see the Eagles make the Super Bowl, and that includes Eagles fans.
But no, I mean, I hope for them to crash and burn in the playoffs. I hope this is the end of Nick Sirianni. You don't want to wish for people.
Unfortunately, I don't think it's the end for Nick Sirianni, but
I don't know.
I don't think the team that makes the playoffs, the coach gets fired. But I know we made proclamations of what we wouldn't do in 2024. I was listening to a podcast, and they were discussing as to whether they would be shocked to find out if Jalen Hurts had been hurt for the past 6 weeks. And that's why the Eagles have suddenly now not been great and this and that. I took such offense to that just from the standpoint that maybe it's not that Jalen Hurts is hurt, but maybe he's just come back down to earth, like we've been saying for a really long time now. Like maybe this is the real Jalen Hurts, where yes, he can put in great performances and he can play well, but he also turns the ball over a lot. He isn't that accurate of a thrower. He does like to scramble, and he is going to fumble when he scrambles. Like maybe this is just the real Jalen Hurts, and we got that like Minnesota Vikings 7-1 in one score game version of Jalen Hurts last year, where everything just happened to go his way and go the way of the Eagles. And now we're kind of seeing he's not an elite QB, but he's the next tier down. And you're going to get some great games and you're going to get some not so great games. I don't think he's hurt at all.
Yeah, I mean, also, is he really their problem? I mean, we're talking about this,
He
okay,
has a
they've
lot of
lost.
turnovers. And when
He
you
has a
watch the
lot.
games, he has a lot of bad decisions in his throws.
Sure. But also look at the defensive side of things, right? It doesn't
Oh,
feel like
yeah.
they can get stops at crucial times. Even you think of the game this weekend against the Cardinals to take the lead and then for the Cardinals just to march down the field, like as if they
Running the
were,
ball, running
yeah,
against the
with,
Eagles defense that's supposed to be like the best front in the country
yeah,
in the NFL.
that, that bit. And you just look back. So since that Cowboys game that they won, you know, the opposition have scored 23, 17, 34, 42, 33, 20, 25, and 35. So, I mean, if you're Jalen Hurts, you'd probably say, I don't know why I'm getting blamed for
Yeah.
this.
No,
But, and
I'm not blaming him. Do you know what I mean? Like but I'm saying like he isn't at his stats and his presence isn't as great as it was last year. And I think that's just him coming back down to his norm. I do agree with you. I think the defense is atrocious, and I don't know. I mean, I would put all the blame on Matt Patricia. That just makes me happy.
could they just stop doing the brotherly shove QB sneak every time? Like, I understand it's a fairly low risk play. It has the highest success rate of any single play in the NFL. But on first and goal from the one, can't you just hand it off to your running back every once in a while? Like, do we need, like,
Do we need Jalen Hurts to have 17 rushing touchdowns off of
yeah,
18 yards?
yeah, like, isn't there a moment? I get it on a fourth down, even third down. You're just saying, let's pick up this yard. But on first and goal from the one, can't you just hand it off?
Well, what
Like,
bothers you more? That on first and goal on the one, they do the tush push every time, or that at least 5 times a game we have to hear the announcer say, Nick Sirianni says every drive they're starting down first and 9, because they got the tush push if they need it, first and 9. I'm so tired of this first and 9 garbage. I'm okay with the first and goal if you just stop saying first and 9. We get it. We get he likes to do it, and he knows he's going to do it.
yeah, I mean, let's just get rid of both. And I'm not saying I have no problem with the play. I'm not saying like it needs to be
No, I get
out.
I get exactly what you're saying, where it's just like run a normal play on first and goal. Like
Yeah,
we don't need to see this crap.
like you just kind of. It feels like if you were playing someone at Madden and they've just like figured out that one play and they're just
Yeah.
doing it over and over again,
Yeah.
and you're just saying like, can't you just run a different play? Like, I get it. I'm not saying you're not cheating, but can't you just run something else?
Yeah.
Like, do you need to be this boring? And I don't know what they're trying. Like, you're not proving anything by doing what they're doing. So just every once in a while, hand the ball off. And if anything, if you were to fumble, like do it a couple times. And if something goes wrong with the handoff, that then reaffirms the approach of the tush push. But right now, it's like you probably would score anyway. So why don't you just do that? And then we can not talk about it every time. All right, other notable takeaways from the NFL over the last couple of weeks. What do you have?
I guess let's go to that Detroit Lions Cowboys game that was on New Year's Eve.
Yeah, Saturday night. Yeah.
Yeah, a rare Saturday night game. Um, it's a really tough one. Because at times I do wish the refs were mic'd up like throughout the entire game. I think that would add a better level of understanding where you could really go in and see. From what it looks like and what the Lions have said, it does seem like that person came in, number 68, and checked in. What is then the issue I have is then the ref says that 70 has checked in, and he tells the defense that 70 has checked as eligible. If you're a defense now and you have not been told that number 68 is now eligible, you're not going to cover number 68. So the fact that that play converts and they score, I think there's a slight overreaction to the fact that had the Cowboys been told the right number, that someone would have said like, hey, that guy randomly checked in as eligible. They haven't done it all game. Someone keep an eye on that guy. Like, and maybe that doesn't happen, but you can't say that they got completely screwed because it worked when the defense wasn't given the proper information to defend that play. So that kind of pisses me off a little bit with the whole Lions things. But then just Dan Campbell in himself is just full on psycho, because after they get that penalty, why the hell is he going for it? The 2-point conversion from the 7. That's just like full psycho mode. And he gets partially saved with the defensive offside where it goes back to the 4 and then he continues to keep doubling down. But like, that's the guy at a blackjack table where someone's just like, dude, I get you're trying to show you're aggressive, but you need to step away from this table before you lose your mortgage, because you can't keep doubling down, man.
Yeah, look, I agree with you. Some people are debating this as if it's in a vacuum where the reporting of number 70 being eligible would have had zero impact on the Cowboys. So you're right. Like, you don't know how effectively the play would have worked had the correct officiating been implemented. Probably still would have worked, but you never know. Like, you can't convince me that all of those players who bit on the play fake would have acted completely differently just by sort of knowing that a different player was potentially eligible. But yeah, you're right. The doubling
But I mean, like,
down,
especially, right? I guess if they're playing man, right? Say like you're playing man, then if that guy's eligible, someone mans up on him. And you're right. Maybe that guy bites on the fake anyway. But if that's the case and they're playing a man defense, then like no one's covering him because they don't think he's eligible, right? So like you can't, like, it just pisses me off a little bit that everyone doesn't take that aspect into consideration a little.
yeah, no, I agree with you, but the doubling down on it makes no sense. I mean,
It's psychotic. Do you think he was so blinded with rage that he just didn't even realize?
maybe they just made the calculation of who cares? Like, we don't really care what happens in this game. So rather than waste time in overtime, let's just end it one way or the other here. I mean, that's the only sort of logical defense you can provide for him. But, and it's a shame. It's a shame from an NFL perspective that like every week a game is being marred by pretty bad officiating. Like, that doesn't, that's unfortunate. But the lucky thing, right, is this kind of doesn't matter too much.
Yeah, that's where the NFL gets super lucky. Had that cost the Lions a playoff spot, oh my God.
Now, I guess the people saying the Eagles probably feel differently. The Eagles are probably looking at that thinking they can win the division with, if the Lions have won that game, but still, I think they're fortunate. It will be forgotten about. I mean, the takeaway from it is, how chaotic would NFL offenses be if everyone were eligible? I feel like this isn't discussed enough. Like, how radically different would NFL offenses
It becomes
look?
like flag football.
Yeah, I mean, I know, but does it? Or do like 3 teams do that? Is it like the Wildcat where, some teams try it for a little bit and then they realize actually, you know what? The sort of structure we had in place does make more sense because every once in a while we're just getting guys sacked, like so yes, we I don't know, it would be an interesting thing. Like, do we need this rule still? Could you not just have every offensive lineman is
Oh my
eligible?
God, it'd be chaos.
Would it be? I'd be
Yeah,
interested
I
to
think it
see.
would be. I think it would be pure chaos. I think at that point, then you pull the Tom Cruise Top Gun Maverick and have two footballs and each team playing offense and defense at the same time.
That might be a little bit more extreme than I'm going for. All right, what else? I mean, obviously, when we preview this weekend, there's a lot to play for different teams, but actually, it doesn't feel like there
I
are
think we
too
should
many.
save that for next podcast.
Yeah, but it doesn't feel like
That's one of
there's
my
too many.
favorite things is us going through like the permutations.
Oh,
But you're right,
which
there's not as many.
and it was a relatively straightforward couple of weeks. There weren't that many upsets. For the most part, things went to plan.
Yeah, I mean, I guess I'll let you take it to me a little bit with the Steelers. Now, looks like they're going to finish above 500, right? They're 9-7 now.
Yeah, they can't have a losing season, so already that is
I still think they'd
secured.
be one of the all-time worst teams to ever make the playoffs.
They probably won't make the playoffs. This is the good news for you. They probably won't, but they could.
You know what?
They
Is it though? Because part of me would love to see them make the playoffs and then get absolutely demolished by who would that be? I don't even know. 3 seed Chiefs.
You might get something you really don't want though, because I think that's a lose-lose for you almost.
No,
Because
Chiefs win that by 35.
and if they do, I don't think it really proves you right, because I don't think the defending Super Bowl champions beating the Steelers in the first round of the playoffs shows that they're frauds. But there is a possibility that they beat this Chiefs team, who really are not particularly good, and then that would be a difficult. This for you to stick by the Steelers are frauds when they're going rolling into round 2 of the playoffs would be a difficult one. All right. So I guess that wraps up the little NFL catch up. Let's do, before we switch sports completely,
Okay.
let's do a quick college football catch up. Obviously,
yeah.
the semifinals of the
Great semifinals.
college football playoffs were played yesterday. Both came down to the wire.
Yep.
Very different games in terms of style, scoring. Do you feel like the right teams won?
Yeah, I mean, so I have, being on the West Coast, I have the unique perspective. I think that I watch a lot more Pac-12, well, what once was the Pac-12 games, than most people. And I think even like big college football fans, just because, I mean, you're staying up at like 3 a.m. on the East Coast if you're watching, like Washington or Oregon or something like that. I have always been really high on Washington, mostly because of Penix and Odunze. Like, especially, I think Penix, like even when he was at Indiana and he ran a lot more before he had 2 torn ACLs, he was always just like a game-changing QB. And I think in college, I mean, this might sound stupid, but I think in college, a really good QB matters a lot more than in the NFL, where like you can just show me 2 teams that are playing each other, and if one has a distinctly better QB, I would take that team almost all the time, even if their like defense sucks or whatever, just because like the defenses just aren't as good in college. So a really good QB can just really expose a team. And like he's a game changer, Penix. And like when I was talking to people over the holiday about, the playoffs, I said, like, I think Washington's got a good shot to win it because he's clearly the best QB out of those 4, like by a lot. And I still do think they have a good chance to win it. I mean, I think their defense isn't as great. They don't have the size that a lot of teams have, especially Michigan and Alabama, definitely like on the line side. They're just enormous. But like you just can't rule him out. So I don't know. I think, yeah, I think Alabama, I do think they deserve to be there, but I definitely think Michigan was the better team. And Michigan almost cost themselves that game and still won despite not playing their best football. And I think Washington was definitely a better team than Texas. And that ending shouldn't have even happened had the Washington player not gotten hurt and cost his team 40 seconds of running the clock down at the very end. Like, and then the kicker interference that gave them another 50. Like, that was a crazy ending that Texas almost got ridiculously lucky for. So, yeah, I think it's going to be a better national championship than people think.
Yeah, I mean, it's obviously lacking. It's lacking SEC representation, which I think is the first time since 2013, and it feels like it's lacking star power, which either comes from the school itself having the kind of powerhouse school, which is doing a slight disservice to Michigan because they've been good for the last 3 years. You know, kind of
Been in the
legitimate,
playoffs the last 3 years.
yeah, legitimate national sort of championship contenders in that period. But I don't
I
know.
mean, I think a lot of it has to do with Washington and being a West Coast team. Like, I don't think they get the national exposure ever.
No, I think you're definitely right there. But I also just think we've become so accustomed to SEC representation, the idea that the SEC is the best conference and that you're proving yourselves. Like, I think if Michigan ends up winning, people will feel like they've proven themselves because they have the Ohio State win, they beat Alabama. I think if Washington ends up winning, people will poke holes in the resume because, and feel like almost you should have to beat someone from the SEC to win the national title, like in the playoff structure, which is unfair. But yeah, I
Which
don't,
is also really unfair because the Pac-12 was actually quite good this year.
yeah, no, for
You know,
sure.
it's a shame actually that they're disbanding the Pac-12 because it's the first year they were actually pretty legitimately good.
The person who I don't think, and I give Nick Saban some credit. I watched his post-game press conference where he spoke pretty openly about the play calling for their fourth down. It's a terrible play call. Like, I just don't love a QB to draw being the thing you're running because it's so, I know this sounds stupid, but it's so hit or miss. Like, it's all or nothing in a way that there's no way for the quarterback to salvage the play if the gap isn't there. And I don't love that as the thing you're going to go down to. But he did say that basically they had a really great play call on the first when they lined up originally. Michigan called a timeout. Then they had a second when they lined up the second time. They didn't have a good look, which is why they called the timeout. And then they decided to go for the QB draw. I know it's questionable. It's questionable. I don't love it.
So I guess yeah, and then I also heard what Saban said was he knew or they knew that Michigan was going to bring the pressure on the line, and they, in anticipation of that, thought if they were going to rush super hard, that they could kind of, push them away to a side to open up some lane right down the middle for that QB draw. I respect the fact that, again, especially in college football, put the ball in your best player's hands with a shot to win the game. I'm okay with that, and I respect that, and I would probably do the same. Like game changers in college football, for sure. I don't like that you're making a play call reacting off of what the defense is going to do. Like that, to me, you're on offense. You should be dictating. Like, I don't like that thinking. I don't like that mentality a little bit. And I agree with you. I don't like that the QB draw is very hit or miss, whereas you could have rolled him out and just, I guess, really hoped that they didn't anticipate a rollout and put three guys to cover wide. But I would have liked the idea of a rollout and giving him a run pass option. Still put the ball in his hands, but let him make the decision that wins or loses you the game. But at least give him a little better option than a QB draw where you are one blocker short of how many people they have in the box, which, that's a recipe for disaster.
Yeah, as I said, I just want to play where there's a plan B potential in the play. I think we've seen the evolution of football enough to know that's when some of the most spectacular plays get made. I also think, you're still putting the hands in your playmaker, putting the game in the hand of your playmaker, but you're giving him the possibility then of legitimately making a play, not just like, I actually think if you're saying like, well, we had to put the ball into the hands of our game-changing player. It's like, well, is him just steamrolling forward the thing? Like, is like that the thing that's going to that's what makes him special? Is that he can run straight pretty fast? Like because that's all you're asking him to do at that point. Like, he's not going to be able to react to anything that happens in front of him. So that was a shame. And look, in a sense, the luckiest player, I think, in getting lost in all of this, on the previous play, the wide receiver, we talk about it all the time, right? Pulling up short of the end zone, like unnecessarily. That's one of those plays where you've really hurt your quarterback in the process. Like that, I fully believe he could have gone, at least, he could have at least been right on the goal line.
Yeah.
And then you really change the scenario if it's 4th and goal from the 1 yard or shorter. But yeah, no, it was an exciting game. I don't know. I feel somewhat disappointed that Alabama's not there, just because
I don't think they were that great.
Like,
the offense did not look that good. What do you have, like 100 yards passing?
No, I mean their punter was almost their MVP, but
yeah,
that's it's still, I don't know. Because I'm a total neutral in the college football world. I do like the idea that you even, that you got to beat, you kind of going to knock off the champion. And obviously Georgia would have been that. But seeing as Alabama handled that part of it, it felt like, I mean, for Michigan, again, it works out, but I don't know. I don't want Michigan to win it because I just find Harbaugh to be insufferable.
Oof.
But,
yeah.
And that's not because a 49ers related
and JJ McCarthy, the biggest fork on the planet.
But I find Jim Harbaugh to be different. And I also think, right, on the back of a cheating scandal.
This looks so bad for college
football. It's not great.
And I hate that they kind of talk about it, but don't. They almost talk about it in a positive light. And that drives me insane. It's despite being suspended for 4 games, he's still in the national championship. Like, no, how is that the rhetoric? How is the rhetoric not, is this guy a fucking cheater and doesn't deserve to be here? Like, that should be the rhetoric.
No, yeah, you're right. There's like a resilience in this Michigan team because they cheated.
Couldn't even be on the sidelines for 3 games, and he's still in the national championship.
But also just as a collective, it's like the togetherness of the team as a whole.
Yeah.
Like, oh my, how they all stuck together in the face of, national scrutiny. It's like, well, they were cheating.
Yeah.
Like, no one's giving Lance Armstrong credit for still plugging away in a triathlon. There's got to be some sort of, context to everything you're saying.
Yeah. Yeah, I think it'll be an exciting game. I think, a really strong offense against a really big, powerful, vicious defense. I think it'll be fun to watch. I kind of hope Washington wins, and I would like to see Penix have a really good game. It's just he is fun to watch. Like, he actually reminds, like, watching Joe Flacco and then watching him, it's just like he does not get, like, he doesn't give a shit. He'll drop a ball into the tiniest of windows and not hesitate. And he's got a really nice touch on those deep balls, and it'll be fun. I'm going to pick Washington. I think partly because that's what I'd like to see, and partly because I think they've been underestimated all season.
All right. Premier League turn, I guess.
Yeah, we know City's going to win.
Yeah, fine we can keep it quick. Well, no, I'll say this.
Royner will be back. Holland will be back.
Yes.
City will win by 20.
I mean, I'll put it this way. I mean, I think Arsenal have completely blown their chance.
Done.
Like you can't
Do
tell me
they
they're.
finish above of Aston Villa now?
I mean, one of my bold predictions coming into the season was that they don't finish in the top four, and I've not given up hope on that. But no, I think they finish third. But I really hope they the wheels really come off. I said to former co-host Sam, somewhat
Who?
somewhat jokingly, who goes first, Arteta or Ten Hag? And I'm not. And he said, "Oh, you're creating storylines for the podcast."
You should have said what podcast. You're not fucking on it anymore.
But legitimately, I can see a scenario here where if the wheels do come off for Arsenal over the next couple of months, if there's an early Champions League exit in the knockout stages, if they end up with no silverware, you're talking about a manager who spent a lot of money now. And if it feels like they're a long way from legitimately contending, you do start to question him. There's been a couple of seasons full of praise about the amazing atmosphere and the development of young players. But Arsenal could get to the end of this season and still feel like they are, a massive distance away from being legitimate title contenders. And I could see a scenario where he goes. Ten Hag, I mean, is obviously kind of dead man walking to a certain extent, so he's the odds-on favorite in that battle. But yeah, I think you really look at them, and I'm not super impressed.
Yeah, so I watched. Was it the Fulham match? Yeah, and it was not. Yes, not impressive is probably the way I would put it as well. Especially compared to last season, where they just don't look the same. I don't know exactly what it is, and you're right. Maybe I don't. What would you put the odds right now on that?
On just which one of them goes first?
Yeah.
Ten Hag would be 1-3 favorite.
And then like 4 to 5 to 1 or whatever.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Like
Yeah, that seems about right.
But you could convince me there's a chance. That's the thing, is you could legitimately tell me that Arteta is not Arsenal manager at the start of next season. I can believe
the thing
it.
with United too is they just go on these weird runs where I think like I honestly feel like we've at least in 3 podcasts have said like, have they slightly righted the ship? Like, are they trending in the right direction? And then 2 weeks later, it's like, they look awful. It's like, so maybe they get on a run and they stay on a run. And then, he starts giving the like, give me another season or 2. And, like I can continue to turn this around. Like, give me some time with players that I want.
Yeah, I mean, the tough thing for him is that his recruitment has not been great. And the players he's obviously strongly pushed for and recommended, for the most part, have not worked out. Obviously, Anthony being the biggest failure of the lot. So that's the thing that hurts him. I don't get convinced with Ten Hag that with more time he can build a better squad. Now with Arteta, I don't know if I'm convinced he can put together a title-winning squad either, because kind of look at it, Gabriel Jesus didn't solve any of their problems. The goal-scoring element remains completely unaddressed. Declan Rice, he's a good signing, but it's not really what they needed. You then also kind of splashed the boat out on a goalkeeper, seemingly just because he was available. Like, I don't think there's any other reason behind that. So obviously these aren't the managers making these decisions necessarily, but you'd have to imagine that Arteta at least has veto power when it comes to signing. So something like signing David Raya, he must have been able to say, we don't need another goalkeeper. Like, this isn't where
Save
I want
the money for
something else. Like, we need a goal scorer.
Yeah.
We are looking at completely the wrong end of the pitch here in terms of signings. So, yeah, I don't know. But Liverpool...
Is this going to be a 2-team race then?
The big issue for Liverpool, right, is the next month with Mo Salah being away playing for Egypt. Like, that hurts them a lot. And think they
Now,
can
let me
get.
ask you this. As a player, because I actually did want to bring this up, is there any way you stay and play for your club instead of your country?
I don't think you can. I think if you, because it's a difficult one to come back from. So I
How
don't.
about a different scenario? I guess Liverpool might not be the best example. Let's say Liverpool haven't won a trophy in decades.
Yeah.
Then is it a little bit more? Is
I
there
think if it
any,
were,
you know what I mean? Like, it's tough.
I think if it were closer to the end of the season, yes. But given, it's still an important part, but still, I don't know. You'd feel like you'd think it's a bit selfish. Salah has an interesting case, right? Because he's won it with Egypt in 2019, so the Egyptians can't feel like it's a tournament he's completely turned his back on, or he hasn't delivered the goods in. I would be tempted. Like I'd be kind of tempted, but it's a bad look.
Yeah.
And it comes across as quite dismissive, right, of the African Cup of Nations. Because if the Euros were randomly played during the season and an England player was saying, well, no, I'm going to sit out, I'd be saying, fuck him, he never plays for England again. Like if Harry Kane said, no, I've got to stick here to play for Bayern Munich, I'd be like, well, that's the end of Harry Kane's England career. And it feels a little bit, it's quite, I guess, insulting to these smaller nations and to the African competition to say, well, but isn't it more important to stick and play for Liverpool and maybe win the Premier League than to win a major tournament with your country? So I don't want to fall into that trap. But I will say, and this is completely, anecdotal, secondhand information, but I've never met many Africans who care that passionately about the African Cup of Nations. I live in a country where obviously there's a huge African contingent. And when it gets to the semifinals and the finals, they can get pretty worked up about it. But you don't hear, there's not a buzz surrounding the tournament for, weeks ahead of time or during the group stages. So I don't think it's only foreigners who are more dismissive of the significance of the tournament. But yeah, I think
What if
it'd be
Harry Kane? What if Harry Kane was playing for Dortmund? Then he's still fuck Harry Kane. He's not. He's not coming back to England.
yeah, it would be more understandable, but still, I couldn't. No, I think if I am a big believer in the idea. Like, I don't think players in any sport should ever retire from international duty, for example. Like, I don't think you should say, I'm retiring from playing for England. I think you should be so honored to represent your country that you would represent them under any circumstances.
I agree, but isn't there the scenarios though where like it's more beneficial because then there's no like slight obligation of the country to potentially have to put this player in, and like it makes the decision easier for the international team in a way.
I think you're kind of right, but I do think if you can't make those kind of sensible decisions, then you're in big
Well, let's
trouble
say okay,
anyway.
let's take Harry Kane as the example, right?
Yeah,
Next World Cup, he's definitely on the squad.
yeah.
Okay. Next World Cup.
So he would be 36, 37. I mean, I would say he probably won't be. But, I mean, if put it this way, if he's still scoring 15 goals a season and you tell me you're putting him in the squad, particularly given his, I mean, it looks not so great coming off the last World Cup, but particularly given his penalty taking ability, that you tell me we want Harry Kane sitting on the bench if we're going to a penalty shootout with all of his experience. We want him on the pitch to take one. Yeah, I would have no issue with it. I mean, I think the scenarios where you have these huge, dilemmas as to whether or not you continue to select a player. They're rare, and I it it would be quite an egotistical statement from a player, right? To be like, look, I'm not retiring for myself. I'm retiring so that there's no huge debate as to whether I should continue to be selected. Like, no, I just think you keep going. I think you just keep going. And then if we pick Harry Kane when he's 76 years old, good for him. Like that's.
All right, let's predict England's squad for the next World Cup.
I give them credit. There's plenty of publications that do that where they'll be looking like 16 years ahead to try and predict England, and it's amusing to look back on them and see who they got right or who was just a completely ridiculous inclusion. But
is Phil Foden on the squad
in 2 World Cups time?
Yeah,
so he'd be like 30. He'd
be like 23.
Yeah. I think we know quite a few players who, obviously barring injuries, you can look at that England squad and pick, I don't know, 10 players who will be there in 2 World Cups, maybe even more. So, yeah, I think you could make a pretty confident selection. Not only that, I think you could probably pick 4 or 5 players who would probably be starting, and you'd be pretty confident that you'll be right. In a sense, you don't want to be because you want there to be new emerging talent. But I mean, like, you'd bet your house, right, that Jude Bellingham is starting.
Yeah.
Like, you'd say Saka is definitely starting.
Declan Rice?
Probably. You'd think Foden probably will be starting. So we got to 4 that I feel.
Back?
Yeah, it gets trickier.
It's always the issue with England.
It gets a little trickier, but
how old is John Stones?
Too old. Too old to be doing that.
Too old, right?
But yeah, I guess that's the Premier League pretty much caught up on. We got in the random other sporting events to cover.
Oh.
A topic we have discussed on a number of occasions.
Oh, don't know if you don't fucking try and backdoor live golf into this.
No live golf. Okay. But another topic you hate. Naomi Osaka made her winning return to the world of tennis. And
I actually didn't see that at all.
Yeah. A topic that we obviously have to tread delicately on. Former co-host Sam was the one who got most annoyed when we would call her out. But look, I like athletes speaking openly about the challenges that they face with mental health. I like normalizing the discussion surrounding mental health. She's got to give it a break, though, now. Her motivation...
Oh, my God.
Her motivation for coming back, supposedly, she's had a daughter, is to prove to her daughter that anything is possible. Now, what? You're a former world number 1... I mean, I get it. Not many women have had children and then come back and won, but it has been done.
Is that specifically what she wants to prove?
She didn't say that. She just wanted to prove that anything is possible. She didn't really pinpoint which challenges she was kind of showing.
What she's going to do that's going to prove that.
No. Could just be playing tennis. I don't know. It's somewhat unclear, but yeah, it's...
I mean, she's a Grand Slam winner already, right?
Yeah, like, multiple. Former world number 1.
Anything's possible?
I wouldn't say so. And I don't want to rip into it. And obviously people's children are a big motivation for them. I just feel like, give it a rest. Like, not everything needs to be you talking about the sort of mental side of your life and how difficult your life is. Like, there's just moments in time where multi-millionaires who've had incredibly successful, like, you don't even know you're born, in a sense, compared to the struggles that a lot of people are going through. So to be relentlessly speaking about how all these things you're overcoming and how difficult life is, it just makes you insufferable after a certain moment in time.
Do you think, I mean, again, I haven't heard this, so I'll play the defender's corner. Do you think maybe she was just had a poor way of saying she wants to show her child that she can be successful, like that she just wants to continue to play tennis so that her child can grow up watching her win tournaments and see like that her mother is a great tennis player, and kind of just came out weird. Because I think that can be a motivation. I think that would be kind of cool, right? To have kids and have your kids be able to watch you be great at a sport. Like, like Tom Brady's a good example, like towards the later end of his career, his kids got to see him be the GOAT. And that's got to be pretty fun as a father or a mother, to be able to have your child see that.
I think you've done as good of a job defending her as you possibly could have done. And look, again, she doesn't deserve massive criticism there, but no, I don't think that's what she's saying. I do think she's saying, with the context of the mental health elements in mind, with the context of being not just, this would be really cool for my child to see me do something really, really well, which that would have been a great answer to say, like, having a child has put everything in perspective for me. So maybe tennis isn't as important as it once was. There are other things in my life, but it will still be really, like, it's a big motivator to show my children, to let them get to see me do something really well and get to see me succeed and to inspire them. Fine answer. But I don't think that's what she's saying. But
At what
obviously,
age do you think, as a child of a great athlete, do you go from being, this is so cool, my father or mother is great at the sport, to being like, God damn it, I have to live in their shadow now? At what age does that switch?
I don't think it ever would for me. I would have no problem. I mean, obviously, didn't get to experience it, but I don't think, like, being Michael Jordan's kids and people ripping into them like big shoes to fill, and oh, you didn't get the genes that made your dad great. Who cares? Like, still really cool life, Like, I don't think I would find it to be like a burden of expectations to follow in their footsteps. I think I would just enjoy the fact that your parents do something cool and that you get to watch it, or or that you get to see. I always think that any occupation where you could get to see maybe people really appreciating the impact that your parents have had, like, I'm I always thought that if my parent, like, when I would, sometimes you'd see someone say to a teacher in front of one of their kids, like, oh wow, you meant so much to me as a teacher, the impact you had on my life. Like, that would be a very cool thing to get to see someone say to one of your parents. And I think the athlete thing would be the same. Someone walking up, if you're Tom Brady's kid, someone coming up and being like, oh, that, like, that Patriots team, like, meant the world to me, all those Super Bowl wins. I don't think that would ever get old. The only thing that would get old is people trying to get to your parents through you. That's the bit that would get old.
Would a part that get old be like when you're 7 years old and people are like ripping into your father about like how much money he costs them or how much they hate him because they're a
Yeah.
Jets fan?
Or a podcast ripping into your mother for saying that she wanted to.
Only half the podcast did.
No, yeah, that would be the more difficult part. But, and yeah, but I still think overall be very, very cool. All right. Any other sports topics to cover?
No, not really. I think we'll do a deep dive into playoff scenarios in week 18 next week. Right? Week 18? Yeah. I always get so confused still because the bye, so it's an extra week. They play 17, but there's 18 weeks. Yes, we'll get into that. Also, we can discuss whether the right game was chosen for the Sunday night flex, because I think
Yeah.
there's a little bit of a debate as to what the better game would have been.
Yeah, no, I think that's fair. Even some of the Saturday selections. I know that's not a flex thing as much, but still, uh, I don't know if necessarily they've put the best lineup of primetime games, on display. So.
Also, we'll preview this by saying, if you're the Niners, are you putting in your starters next week?
No. I'm definitely not putting McCaffrey in.
I'm
I'm
definitely not putting Debo in.
No. I mean, the debate becomes, I guess, right? Do you
They're going
feel
to have
like you have?
another bye week, so they're not going to have played for almost a month.
Yeah, there's always the rustiness element, but then there's also the question about do you feel like you have an obligation to either McCaffrey or Purdy to play them just in case for an MVP? You know,
Or
like,
incentives. I mean, contract incentives.
yeah, we never know on that front. I mean, we
I would,
do with.
I would actually, that would be really interesting to see some of the discussion there where, like, let's say Brock Purdy's one touchdown pass away from $500,000 incentive. Do you think they go to him and say, like, hey, listen, we're going to sit you, but we're going to give you the incentive? That has to happen, I bet.
I don't know if you're allowed to do that.
You don't think so?
I feel like with a like collective bargaining agreement
I
that
guess you're
just
right. You're probably
just
right. You probably can't.
you can't just pay someone a bonus. You might be able to find a creative way to get them the money. You might be like,
Yeah,
"Hey,
you're right. You probably can't. That would suck, right?
we've spoken to this local Toyota dealership, and they're going to pay you $500,000 to make an appearance next Sunday." That you probably, I'm sure there's some interesting workarounds that you can do, but I bet you with a collective bargaining agreement, you can't just say, "Hey, you know what? We're benching you, but we're gonna honor that bonus."
I mean, then do you go the other way? And Brock Purdy says, like, no, fuck it. I got a lot of money on the line. I'm playing.
I think if you're a quarterback, no, because you should know that enough money is coming your way at some point. I could see some other position players, like if offensive or defensive linemen, where that's maybe like $1 million, $2 million bonus. You might be thinking, well, that's a lot of money for me. So
Yeah.
there, I could see being selfish, but now if you're a quarterback and you're making big decisions like that based on $500,000, $1 million, I think you're missing some of the
Yeah, but what he only
perspective.
makes $600K a year, Eddie.
He does. He does. I mean, there'll be no bonuses up for grabs for him, right? Like he's not got to that point in his career, but yeah, I don't know. I mean, they always talk about that, right? That's always one of those week 18 conversations where they're going to say, like, George Kittle is 4 receptions away from a $1.5 million bonus. And, you do watch him get targeted.
So how about this one then? Not the Niners. What about the Chiefs? Locked into the 3 seed, but their offense just does not seem to still be clicking. Do you put it out there to try and get some rhythm going into the playoffs, or do you let them rest?
No, I think if you're locked in to your spot, or even if you're not locked in, but it's like a negligible difference, like, well, we could drop to the 4 seed. I think you rest.
You don't do a preseason and do like 2 or 3 drives?
No, because then Mahomes gets injured in the first quarter and your season ends. Like I think the risk reward, the risk is a lot higher than the reward. But yeah, no, I don't. I think you'd sit players wherever possible. I don't really believe that rust can kick in 3 weeks. When you're practicing and stuff. I can't believe that you're that like that. NFL players have to be that in tune to really have the offense working perfectly or the defense. So I think you just give the players the rest, let them feel healthier.
Interesting that you say the risk is higher than the reward. But in a meaningless college bowl game, you are not with the first round draft pick that sits out for risk of getting injured.
No, I'm not.
I've caught you there.
No, you haven't. It's not meaningless. It's not meaningless.
Because I think it's completely meaningless.
No, I think you sign up to play for a team and you're playing for the season. You're making yourself look. I would feel differently about a player in the NFL sitting out. Like if you told me the 49ers asked Brock Purdy to play and he said, "No, I'm resting myself for the playoffs," I'd have an issue with him. But if you tell me that as a team you make this collective decision that it's better to rest certain players, that's fine. That's just managing your squad. I think when you start a season with a team in college football, you're signed up to be there through to the end, not to opt out when you've made the individual decision that I can't benefit anymore from this team succeeding. Because at a certain moment in time, you were relying on that team to help you, and now you got to help them back. You know,
But those
you could
games
have
are meaningless. They're
maybe,
meaningless.
but then you could argue most of the games are meaningless. I don't know.
Yeah, I think but that's the thing. Right? Well, here's the thing, right? This to me, these bowl games are starting to become like the Pro Bowl. Like there's nothing to it. There's a playoff system now, and if you don't make the playoffs, you just get like a consolation game. So like in the NFL, if they had consolation games, I'm sure a lot of players would opt out because like they wouldn't want to play in a meaningless game that had no impact on anything.
I don't know. I think we in the world of insurance and stuff that we have, right? Sometimes people talk about this as if, well, there's millions of dollars up for grabs, and otherwise they won't have it. Like you can, have all the insurance coverage you need to protect yourself against potential injury. Obviously, that only protects you financially. It doesn't necessarily protect you in terms of your actual A, health, and B, wanting to achieve
Career.
things.
Like
Yeah,
they can't like it can't be like insurance where it's like, listen, you didn't get drafted, but we're gonna put you in the NFL anyway.
in the Super Bowl.
Yeah.
Go get
We're
him,
gonna
kid.
make sure you're a starting QB with
We know
one
your
leg.
we know your right arm fell off in the Sugar Bowl, but we're now
It's a very unique insurance package.
yeah. But no, I don't
I
know.
th- yeah.
I
Well, I think
think
the other issue too, right, is I think that this transfer portal is a little bit insane. And that's something they definitely need to fix. Like, I don't understand how the transfer portal is before the full season is completed. And I understand that some of the reasons are obviously because there's actually universities linked to these programs. So it's like you need to transfer so that way you can get into another university. I'm sure that has some issue with it. But when you ignore the fact that these players are actually students in every other aspect of the game, then don't tell me that's the reason that we have this terrible time window for a transfer portal that starts 1 week before the playoffs start. Like, just do it when the playoffs are done and when everything's over. Like, because even for teams that are in the playoffs, there are some players that are in the portal and aren't playing on those playoff teams. And that's fucking stupid. Like, that's where it really sucks. And it sucks for both. It sucks for the team because they've lost a player. And it probably sucks for a lot of players who like kind of do want to jump in the transfer portal because they're not getting playing time, but then they can't because they're on a playoff team, and they don't want to run that risk that maybe they get some exposure in like a national championship. So that is stupid. Like when, what was it? 12 players on Florida State were in the transfer portal and weren't playing. Like, that's stupid.
yeah. I mean,
It wouldn't have helped them anyway. They still would have lost by fucking 60 because they suck. But
there's a lot that could be fixed in college football. That is one of the things. But I think, yeah, there are a lot of problems facing college football. It'll be interesting to see what version of college football exists 10 years from now, because I think it will be radically different to the setup that we see now. But who knows? Away from sports, any TV or movie recommendations?
no, it's really tough to watch like a show in the car when you're in a car for 72 hours. I don't think I really watched much of anything. If it wasn't sports, I was kind of busy, you know, traveling around the country. Just Friday Night Lights just continues to be a rewatchable show. Just really holds up well. Some of those storylines, not icky at all.
uh, I've not watched too much that's not purely sports. I did finish Squid Game, the challenge.
That's the real version.
That's the game show version of it.
Did it have a satisfying ending?
Not really. I mean, still, it's just an interesting sort of. You see how stupid people are. Like that was just the stupidity of people became frustrating as I watched it. It's the reason why I don't really watch reality TV shows in general. And obviously this one was a bit different, but that was to me that was the biggest issue, was just
Was it scripted?
No, I mean, I'm sure, like any reality TV show, there were probably moments where people were told to, we need a bit of drama. How about you two don't like each other? I'm sure that those types of things may have happened, but no, it was supposedly not. But yeah, it was. It would probably be fun to do. You can sign up right now to try and be on season 2. It's kind of tempting, but at the same time, your odds of winning are really slim. And I don't know how much fun it necessarily would be if you just get eliminated kind of like straight away. And most of it, the one criticism I would have of it is they actually removed a lot of the need. Like you would have gone into it thinking, oh, there's some advantage to being strong or fit or whatever. And they kind of removed all of those elements. And they really added the like social element in terms of people being voted off. That became like a bigger part of it.
That's why you got to go on the Korean 100 show instead, where strength and physique matters.
I like that because I do like the idea that there are people in their 70s on the show and you want to make it possible, but you can do that through team events. Like you could have had a tug of war was a big thing in the TV show. There was no tug of war this time around. You could have had tug of war, and obviously it's a downer to have the 74-year-old woman on your team for the tug of war, but you could still win depending on what the makeup of the rest of the team was. So, I think there'd be people who signed up for that who were probably disappointed in terms of the challenges that they ended up getting to go through, and also just people getting like randomly voted out. It would have pissed me off just to get voted off in the final 10 people when you're that close to winning $4.6 million and to just have it disappear because someone doesn't like you. Like that would annoy me. To me, that doesn't feel like what the game was supposed to be about.
That's like Survivor.
Yeah. And it would mean that season 2, if people have watched this, they'll go in and they'll treat it more like Survivor, where they really are trying to develop those
relationships. Alliances.
Exactly. And I do not look forward to that.
I did, Eddie, as a kind of what we can look forward to in 2024. There was an article about some of the most notable sports bets of 2023 to give our listeners some excitement for what they could potentially win or lose in 2024. I'll go through some of the big ones. So this one sucks. Los Angeles Chargers jumped out to a 27-0 lead over the Jags in the wild card game that was in January, which the Jags ended up winning. At that time, a person put a $1.4 million bet for the Chargers to win at, this is minus 12,500 odds. So basically he put 1.4 million to win $11,000 and lost that bet.
Yeah, I mean, when I see those stories, I mean, that's money laundering. You can't convince me. You can't convince me that's anything other than money laundering. Because, okay, you could tell me $11,000 isn't an insignificant sum of money, right? Like if I could win $11,000 tomorrow, I'd be very happy. But if I had $1.4 million to risk, I don't think I'm risking that sum of money to only win 11,000. Now, admittedly, you do that 1,000 times, that's the only time you would have lost it. So you could say, how unlucky are you if you place that same bet on any other playoff game in history in a similar scenario? You're $11,000 richer, and you're going to buy yourself, a Rolex and telling people, hey, this is basically free. Like, it's crazy that they let me just win this money to bet on a team winning by that much in a game. But it's 100% money laundering. Like I can't. There's just no other reason to do it.
So this is a pretty good one here by FanDuel. So in week 2 of the NFL season, FanDuel put up an offer of 200 to 1 odds that every team in the 12-game Sunday afternoon, so just not the night game, would make a field goal. And it only happened once in the last 20 seasons that this has happened. This was the first week they put this up at 200 to 1 odds, and it hit. They paid out more than $20 million on that prop bet. That prop bet has not since come back.
Yeah, someone got fired for that. Some guy in there
definitely got fired.
Someone either in their trading department or their marketing department, someone got fired for that. And again, that's a weird one because you would say great promotion to have based on the fact that it never happens and the fact that people would say, surely that happens. You know, like in your head, you'd be like, don't most teams kick field goals at some point in the game? You would tell yourself that 200 to 1 is a bargain, and yet, historically speaking, it's not.
So another one is this, I think, might be the highest odds one. There was a FanDuel reported there was a 25-cent 21-leg NBA parlay at odds of, let me get this right, 455,000 to 1. So 25 cents to win 113,000 that hit. That's one of their all-time biggest losses. That one is one of those ones that I wonder how many that person put in for a 25 cent.
$1 million.
Yeah.
Yeah. That's one of those too. I look, again, if I managed to pull that off tomorrow, I'd be delighted. But I think I'd also live with a lifetime of guilt and regret of not making it $1. You know, like there's, and maybe that person.
I never do cent bets.
No,
in fact, I never go below 5.
No, but probably that person had. There's a good chance maybe they had 25 cents left in their online betting account, and where was like, "Fuck it, I'll just throw this on this bet. It will never win, so what do I care?" And I don't want to have 25 cents sitting in this online betting account. But you would kick yourself for like, really? I didn't just deposit $10 more and then make it a $2 bet, a $3 bet. I mean, probably my undoing. But I would have, been like, who wants to, if I win it, I'm going to hate winning it more than I would losing it.
So this I thought was a pretty good one. There was someone who successfully picked the first 14 games of the NFL season against the spread in a $10 parlay. How much do you think that paid?
Oh, it's going to be huge. I mean, my math should be good enough to get close, but I won't try and bore the listeners by trying to let's say it was $10, you said?
Yep.
14 teams?
14 games, yep.
Let's say 800,000.
No. Off by 10%, tenfold. 88,000.
Okay.
It's not as high as you'd think.
No. I mean, obviously it does depend a little bit on terms of you get those favorites where they're not giving you like the 10 to 11 sometimes on the spread. You can get not that would have worked you up to my number. But yeah, that would be disappointingly low to get 14 things right against the spread. Yeah, you'd feel a little hard done by.
I thought was a pretty good one. This recent. So there was a bettor who had 4 parlays of college football and college basketball at the end of the year. So like December 27th, 28th, 29th. So 4 different parlays. They all were 13 for 13 with Ohio State left to beat Missouri in the Cotton Bowl. The bettor cashed out all of them and won $41,000 off of four $4 bets. So $16 for $41,000. That's a good cash out.
Yeah, it is. Obviously, for listeners unaware, Ohio State went on to lose, 9-3?
Yeah.
Was it?
I guess in a game, you would be so fucking pissed if you let it ride because the QB went down early and they were down to their what was second but really third string because their first string QB had transferred out in the portal. So you're with like a true freshman, never really took more than 10 snaps, didn't think he was probably going to play in as the starting QB. Like that would have been, you would have been so pissed.
Yeah, I mean, if you were critical of him, I guess you could say if he'd cashed out in the game, he maybe makes a little bit more. Because they were winning 3-0 for like the first 3 quarters or something, right? So maybe, although I don't know how the impact of the injury might have affected then the payout. But yeah, I mean, smart move. And I think you would just say, like, if we were having the discussion going into that game, yes, Ohio State were favorites. But when you're looking at a team with so many key players sitting out, you'd think just take the money. Like, if you want, take the money and maybe rebet a little bit of it, which is the thing we always talk about, right? You take it all and then maybe you put $10,000 on Ohio State to win. But yeah, take the money.
That was a smart cash out. And then obviously we can finish on the one that we've been debating that is, I think, definitely real, was the $5 14-leg parlay of touchdown scorers that paid out $5 for $489,000 through DraftKings. There was, what was I going to say? That was supposedly the biggest odds that DraftKings had paid out that year for any bet. But then supposedly they have like VIP bettors that they don't release the bets of. Like they remain anonymous unless they want to. And there was someone else who said that they correctly predicted all 6 fights at UFC for one of them at higher odds, but the payout was less because they only bet $1. So they bet $1 and won $399,000.
They have a VIP bettor who's throwing on
bet $1.
$1.
Exactly. So that's why I don't get what the VIP means. There's no way. It's a VIP program, so maybe they just bet so much that they get in. I don't know what it means.
Sure, but
so that was technically the highest odds winning DraftKings paid out.
If you put yourself into like the high spender category, either in terms of size of bets or just sheer total amount bet, and then you start throwing on $1 accumulators, you should be reported for a gambling problem immediately. Like that should be.
Well, I wonder if this person actually did just like 1,000 different permutations of this bet, because basically it's who wins by what method and in what round. And there was 6 fights.
Yeah, even so.
So maybe they're VIP because they have computer algorithms they're running to bet all day.
And they still lost money on even with the big win. Yeah, I don't know. And I'm slightly skeptical about some of these reported wins just because I think it's the easiest form of marketing. And I think some of these companies have been caught in the past making some of these up. And it seems like this most recent incident that you're talking about is probably true, but I remain skeptical always.
I'm going to say it's true. I have personal insider info.
Yeah. I mean, look, we could probably get him on, but I don't know if that would even change my mind. Okay. I'm going to be like, like one of those weird Sandy Hook deniers who's like even speaking to the person. Speaking to the person.
Somehow we're going to pay that guy more money. Yeah. Did you see what he said when because they had him on, I forget what show they had him on, and they were asking him some questions, and they said, like, when did you say something? And he said he said something after all the early games hit, and he had just the afternoon games left.
Which was halfway through. He was 7 out of 14.
Yeah, which is still, I think, a little early to say something.
I've
had a lot of bets that are 7 out of 14 through.
These are the two things that make me the most skeptical. One, then, he was asked, when did you tell your wife? To tell your wife with 7 things left, it's not like you're close. The expectation should still be for you to win. And it's not like he could have had some like cash out offer that was worth, hey, do I tell my wife I got $150,000?
A lot of times they actually don't even offer cash out on those.
He said it wasn't available anyway.
Yeah, a lot. Yeah. Anytime I bet that, they don't offer cash outs because it's too confusing, I think, for them to calculate.
And then the other thing, and this is more just me, superstition and whatever, filming yourself, recording yourself for the final one. I don't know. Those two things combined to me scream non-real, non-gambler, but that's just me.
No, I definitely think it's real. I also enjoyed that when he told his wife or girlfriend, she said, why didn't you bet 10? And you know what? It's a fair fucking question because, again, 5 is a weak bet.
No, and that was actually the thing that made me think, yeah, that's the question you'd get asked. If you won that amount of money, that's the question I would ask you. Especially because, I mean, yeah, not to pry, like to analyze this guy's life. He's a financial advisor. I'm assuming he could spare the extra $5, But who knows? I don't know. You say that, but every once in a while you don't expect it to win. So, I've put on bets that if they ended up winning, I would have
that's
said,
the mentality we can't be going to 2024 with. You expect it to win.
Okay. Then that's going to be a lot of disappointment in 2024. I don't know if I can handle that level of disappointment.
And I did see, I think I sent it to you, the taxes instantly withdrawn directly from DraftKings, which is interesting. I didn't know that's how that worked when it became that high of an amount.
I mean, I'd be happy about that.
I would too. I would 100%. That's way better because then it's like, it's gone. You don't even have to worry about it, like whatever. Yeah. But that is interesting that happens directly there, which I guess does make sense because when you're at a casino and it's a big enough amount, you instantly have to do it there as well. I just never really.
Yeah, it makes sense. Obviously, gambling wins here, non-taxable, so I won't have to worry about that.
But there's a max,
problem.
Isn't there?
Most bookmakers will not pay you out more than £1 million. Unless, obviously, if you're doing a big bet, they will. But the idea that you could put like a £10 bet on to win $3 million, sometimes they'll let it. Most of them will just tell you max payout and then adjust your stake accordingly. There have been some issues at times where they still displayed larger wins to people. Famously, one guy who predicted it to snow on Christmas Day in like 25 different locations. And
what?
Yeah.
Tell me this bet.
Okay, I'll quickly bring it up. So the snow on Christmas Day issue happened in 2010. And a bettor, a guy named Cliff Bryant, placed 2 5-pound accumulators, so parlays for Americans, that snow would fall on 24 towns and cities across the north of England on Christmas Day. Now, his issue
like, how did he get away with this? Because aren't some of the towns just like right next to each other?
Yeah, this is Ladbrokes. The way they basically said they had to void the bet was because these were related events fundamentally, and that like they shouldn't have accepted the accumulator.
It'd be like doing a same game parlay and putting on like Dolphins to win by 40 and like 5 touchdowns to be scored and have them be 2 completely separate, like that added in. Like that's not how they work.
No, so 10-pound bet, 2 10-pound bets that totaled, the win would have been just over £7 million. Ladbrokes said, "We have apologized to the customer for any confusion and for mistakenly accepting an accumulator bet when our own rules state that only single bets are available on a market of this nature. We are happy to void the bets and to pay the customer his winnings on the relevant singles. They, however, amount to just £31.78, rather than the 7.1 million Bryant was expecting.
Now, I mean, did he take them to court? Like, did it actually say singles only market?
I'm sure it's in the terms and conditions. Yeah, he sought legal advice. I don't know what the outcome was of it. I'm sure
He
they
said,
probably.
"You're fucked."
Yeah,
No
I
chance.
mean, this is always the thing, right? They got their asses covered with all their terms and conditions. So yeah, there's probably nothing good.
That's a
Nothing
good
good.
way, though. Like, do you think this is a savvy bettor who saw that they didn't contain it to a singles market, so then he went for the parlay?
I think savvy bettor is probably a strong term, but I bet you he realized as he was placing the bet of like, it's crazy that they're letting me do this.
Yeah.
Like, unless you're an idiot, you'd have to understand that like this feels like the odds should reflect the fact that it's snowing. One place should reduce the odds of it snowing in the other place in a relatively close geographical area.
He thought it was like when you get the paper slip that instead of 8-1, it says 80-1 mistakenly, and just hoping they cash out before anyone notices. Where you can run out of that bet shop. Do you want to know what's weird? I have such random memories. The only memory I have of that event is that I was carded by the person who took our bets.
Yeah, so for the story for our listeners, once, and the only time I've ever really benefited from a bookmaker making a mistake, I placed a double that should have paid like 3-1 and instead paid like 30-1 because the guy wrote the odds in incorrectly. And
it was a woman.
The woman did, yeah. And we tried to cash it out at the first place.
I'm not saying that, like, I'm just saying, like, because I remember the woman. Like, I'm not saying, like, that's
the guy cashing it out at the first place, I think, realized that a definite mistake had been made and then encouraged us to go back to the actual shop where we'd placed the bet. But at the time, also carded Frank, not believing that he was of age, which Frank took as a huge compliment.
But, well, it was like 15 years over the age limit.
It's true. But yeah, maybe we can try and manifest that level of luck in 2024.
And lastly, I want to end, Eddie, on an attitude we shouldn't take into 2024. And that's the attitude of David Tepper, the Carolina Panthers owner, who, in frustration for the shit team he's put together, decided to throw a drink at a Jaguars fan outside of his private suite at the stadium. That is the attitude that we should not be manifesting.
No, it's not surprising because obviously the temperament that you have doesn't leave you just because you're successful. And if anything, that type of temperament might have helped him to be successful in the hedge fund world. But it's amazing that you could be as wealthy and successful as he is and get that riled up by a fan taunting you or saying whatever is being said. Like, you'd think you'd be able to rise above that pretty easily. Like, it would have even been a bad look had he just asked, depending on what was said, obviously. But even if he had just asked for the fan to be ejected, you would have thought, come on, like, close the window.
Yeah. Close your probably double pane, soundproof, bulletproof windows.
There must be a way to not hear this guy anymore. And also, I have less respect for him. You say throw a drink. He did the like angry girlfriend in a bar throwing the liquid out move.
Yeah.
He didn't whip a can at a guy's head. That would have been obviously worse. More repercussions, but more respectable.
Yeah. Did you see the person that he threw it at says they have second-degree retinal alcohol burns?
Did they really?
No, I was kidding. But They then took straight alcohol and rubbed it into their eyes 5 minutes after.
Oh, I would have thrown myself backwards over the chairs. I would have immediately just taken one for the team. I would have just, whoa, the shock of the vodka tonic to my face would have
it burns.
sent me flying over three chairs.
I'm allergic to vodka.
Definitely injuring my neck.
Yeah. Frank, step on my hand. Step on my hand. Break it.
Yeah.
All right. Well, I guess with that, we'll wrap it up and call it a day.
Sounds good.
All right. Talk to you later.
See ya.
See ya.